Hello, I'm reading from one of my favorite books, one of the best novels ever written, George Orwell's 1984, and it's been relevant to me my whole life. It's very relevant to every citizen of the United States today, every person living in the United States today, citizen or not. Let's continue to read. The Parsonses' flat was bigger than Winston's and dingy in a different way. Everything had a battered, trampled on look, as though the place had just been visited by some large violent animal. Games, impedimenta, hockey sticks, boxing gloves, a burst football, a pair of sweaty shorts turned inside out lay all over the floor, and on the table there was a litter of dirty dishes and dog-eared exercise books. On the walls were scarlet banners of the Youth League and the Spies, and a full-size poster of Big Brother. There was the usual boiled cabbage smell, common to the whole building, but it was shot through by a sharper reek of sweat, which one knew at the first sniff, though it was hard to say was how was the sweat of some person not present at the moment. In another room, someone with a comb and a piece of toilet paper was trying to keep tune with the military music which was still issuing from the telescreen. "It's the children," said Mrs. Parsons, cast, casting a half apprehension glance at the door. "They haven't been out today, and of course," she had a habit of breaking off her sentences in the middle. "The kitchen sink was full nearly to the brim with filthy greenish water, which smelt worse than ever of cabbage." Winston knelt down and examined the ankle joint of the pipe. He hated using his hands, and he hated bending down, which was always liable to start him coughing. Miss Parsons looked on helplessly. "Of course, if Tom was home, he'd put it right in a moment," she said. "He loves anything like that. He's ever so good with his hands, Tom is." Parsons was Winston's fellow employee at the Ministry of Truth. He was a fattish but active man of paralyzing stupidity, a mass of imbecile enthusiasms, one of those completely unquestioning devoted drudges on whom, more even than on the thought police, the stability of the party depended. At 35 he had just been unwillingly evicted from the Youth League, and before graduating into the Youth League he had managed to stay on in the Spies for a year beyond the statutory age. At the ministry he was employed in some subordinate post for which intelligence was not required, but on the other hand he was a leading figure on the sports committee and all the other committees engaged in organizing community hikes, spontaneous demonstrations, saving campaigns, and voluntary activities generally. He would inform you with quiet pride, between whiffs of his pipe, that he had put in an appearance at the community center every evening for the past 4 years. An overpowering smell of sweat, a sort of unconscious testimony to the strenuousness of his life, followed him about wherever he went, and even remained behind him after he had gone. "Have you got a hammer?" said Winston, fiddling with the nut on the angle joint. "A spanner," said Miss Parsons, immediately becoming invertebrate. "I don't know, I'm sure. Perhaps the children." There was a trampling of boots and another blast on the comb as the children charged into the living room. Miss Parsons brought the spanner. Winston let out the water and disgustingly removed the clot of human hair that had clogged up the pipe. He cleaned his fingers as best he could in the cold water from the tap and went back into the other room. "Up with your hands," yelled a savage voice. A handsome, tough-looking boy of 9 had popped up from behind the table and was menacing him with the toy automatic pistol. With his small sister, about 2 years younger, made the same gesture with a fragment of wood. Both of them were dressed in the blue shorts, gray shirts, and red neckerchiefs which were the uniform of the spies. Winston raised his hand above his head, but with an uneasy feeling. So vicious was the boy's demeanor that it was not altogether a game. So here you have it. People living in squalor. Uh, I guess they're playing out gender roles. Well, they're not really playing out gender roles because there's a woman, the woman that Winston likes works at the place. But here you have useless people. Um, and I shouldn't really say useless people, but mindless people. Made mindless by the state so that the state can keep power. Because remember, there's no way that you can have a knowledge based society and have a small number of people ruling everything. There's no way. Unless the small number is so enlightened that the rest of us say, y'all are so enlightened that we like y'all ideas. But even that would be us supporting and okaying their ideas because we know. And but more than likely, if we were a knowledge based society, we just wouldn't have a structure that way. It wouldn't make sense. So miseducation and dumbing down and bad school systems are part of the plan. They're not a mistake. So I, you've been going to schools, public school systems, private school systems in this society, and you've been sending your children to schools. I'm sorry. Um, those schools haven't been telling them what they need to know. But they're learning now. And so I'm happy with the young people that are learning now, learning today. And I'm happy with the people who, even the older people who are learning again and out in the streets and out and pushing concepts that have been crazy concepts that have been ruling us for decades. So it's getting better. But if we falter, if we fall back, if we stop, if we rest, we will end up with the society in this book. Until next time, I want to say I appreciate your support. Take care of your mind, take care of your body, and be safe.